Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, the baseball season is here. It is here.
Against all odds.
It's here. It is fully here. If you weren't ready for it, too bad, because it's here. It's coming. And I'm speaking mostly to myself. I have not emotionally processed the fact that I am about to internalize 162, at minimum, more New York Mets games. You're going to internalize and ingest about 10 Oakland Athletics games? 10?
Yeah,
over under 10.
That might be pushing it. Here's the thing,
yes.
right? Is like when the games get going.
Just when I thought I was out,
I know
they pull me back in.
I mean, this year's going to be harder than ever, right? Like in the past, the A's have been fun bad, and now this year they're going to be like bleak bad. You know, like existentially, like kind of questioning my life choices bad. So more so than usual, I would say.
You know about as well as anyone that last year, anytime I was in public wearing anything New York Mets and someone said, hey, let's go Mets, whether that was at a game, on the subway, on the street, whatever, I would point at them and I would say, that's right, this is the year. Do I just run that back or am I going to need to think about something different? What do you think? What is your take on it? I'm going to let it marinate. I'm not going to decide right now what I'm going to do, but I wanted to hear live on air, live to tape on air, what you think I should do this year. Should I point at them and be like, this is probably not the year?
Right. Well, I was going to say it didn't work, right? Like all the good manifesting we did
our part, Uncle
for
Steve.
Nothing, you know? Exactly.
We did our part, Billy Epler. Where were you at the trade deadline saying this is the year? You weren't there. You weren't there. You were trading 4 guys for Darren Ruff, who you DFA'd. Just doing WFAN Mets talk.
I think you start lowering the bar a little bit, right? So like this may not be the year, but Pete Alonso, 40 home run season.
That's too many words. Hey, this is the year. Is perfect.
Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, best 1-2 punch in baseball. Am I right?
Gonna be the greatest over 40 pitching duo ever.
Those new food options at Citi Field are pretty crazy.
Hey, we're selling a lot of tickets. The thing about this is the year that was so great is that people could interpret it any way that they wanted to. Hey, this is the year that we think baseball is fun again. Hey, this is the year that the Mets win the NL East. Hey, this is the year that the Mets win the World Series. Hey, this is the year that the Mets really turn the stink of the Wilpon franchise around. Like however you wanted to take it, you could take it. And so whatever I do this year has to kind of live up to that ambiguity standard. So I think that here's what's the leader in the clubhouse right now. And our Tipping Pitches Mets fan contingent cohort in the Slack and on Twitter. I encourage you to reach out to me and let me know if you think that this is a good one, if you would like to hear me say this to you, if you say, hey, let's go Mets, and you see me on the street. I'm going to point at people and I'm going to say in a similar tone, hey, keep the faith. Say, hey, that's right, let's go Mets, keep the faith.
Yep, a little sadder.
Right,
you know,
I had
an
to tone it back
acknowledgement
a little
of pain.
bit. Right, yeah, of what happened last year, about how it all went to shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I like it. I do. I liked your note about being able to interpret the phrase kind of however you want, and it got me thinking. I wonder if there was anyone last year who didn't make the connection, right? Who didn't make the connection that you were a Mets fan talking to another Mets fan saying this is the year, and maybe instead like perceived it as a threat. Right? Like a stranger passed them on the street and pointed and said, this is the year. And so now they've just walked around for months looking over their shoulder, wondering when this is finally going to happen.
When I'm coming for them like John Wick, like the Baba Yaga.
Exactly. Doesn't matter where you go, he'll find you.
Nah, dog, I never was the first. I was never the initiator. I would only say this is the year if someone said, let's go Mets to me. Keep the faith is the leader in the clubhouse. How about, hey, we got to start somewhere.
You can't get back on the horse until you fall off. Am I right?
Hey, it's going to happen eventually, most likely, statistically speaking, before I leave this earth. Not sure about you, stranger.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
start talking about death.
You could be the A's, at least.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Maybe I'll mix it up. Maybe I'll have a couple different responses this year.
Yeah, we should. I mean, you should do some A/B testing, right? Like throw a few out there, gather the responses, see sort of what the reaction is overall.
I like where your head is at. This is why we work so well together. Collaboration is important in podcasting and in life. Speaking of collaboration, there's a lot of collaboration going on this podcast. We were joined by so many guests, by Stephen Hesson and Jane Austen of Batting Around, by Clinton Yates's text message,
right, by proxy,
a write-in selection, by Bekah Ansbro of the Tipping Pitches Slack to help us make the TP community selection, by Sarah Langs, Jake Mintz and Jordan Schusterman of Cespedes Family Barbecue, Matthew Ritchie, Shakeia Taylor, and of course each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it all starts with you and me, Alex.
Well, you're my favorite guest every week, Bobby.
I'm going to choose you in the gift draft. I'm just going to be videoing you all year. Make gifts out of you. It would actually be better if you were videoing me because I have more emotive reactions while watching the sport of baseball than you.
The amount of gifts I could get out of your frustration when Stevie is barking in the background, you know,
yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. She's got to chill out. Her and I had a talk after last week's episode, though people seem to enjoy her contributions to the pod. More Stevie, they said.
Right.
More Stevie. To that I say, the barking is annoying after like an hour. Okay? It does get annoying after an hour. I love her a lot, but she's kind of annoying. This is the Tipping Pitches 2023 All-GIF draft. This is something that we've been doing for 6 years. This is the 6th installation of the Tipping Pitches All-GIF draft. That's pretty exciting. We don't really do that many things for 6 consecutive years, but this is one of those things. And I feel good about it. Wrote a newsletter about it, about how much I love doing the GIF draft because it is just a statement of purpose for the podcast and for the things that we love to talk about for the sport. So if you've never heard a GIF draft, what we do is we invite our friends on. We draft our team, they draft the guest team, and we talk about the players who are most likely to produce the viral moments, GIFs, throughout the 2023 season. We don't really have a mechanism for scoring this draft, but it's not really about competitiveness. It's about verbalizing our appreciation for this sport and for the players who make it as fun as they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoy this exercise because it's maybe the only time that we talk about baseball here on this podcast. And so I think it's a really good opportunity.
Come on. We're the seminal minds of the baseball internet.
Well, I know, but with no Tatis or rule changes to talk about, I mean, it's kind of, what do we really do anyway?
I'm going to bite my tongue because I brought it up multiple times throughout the separate recordings.
I know you did. And on Twitter and on our Spotify poll and in person.
We worked it out in therapy. We are. Right. People saying we need to work it out in therapy on the pod. Some things we need to keep for ourselves, everyone. Some things we need to have on our own. Not everything needs to happen on mic. I like. How do you feel about doing a week-long live stream of just you and me hanging out? We can't leave. We have to be by each other's side. Tipping Pitches top Patreon tier, $200 a month, and we do a live stream.
Jesus, that kind of scares me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Why? Because it just reminds you of college. Take you back to that dark place.
Yeah, well, I'm also just like, I can't even stand to be around myself that long. You know, like God forbid we charge people for it.
Yeah. I would love to be around you for that long, just for the record. Let the record state.
It's like happened before, right? I mean, we've had weeks where we've been like, oh yeah, we've been together 17 straight days. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. All-GIF draft 2023. Off to the races. Before we go, I am Bobby Wagner.
I'm Alex Baisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches. Do you want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily. then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money. All in one place, for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters. And Alex, how does it work?
I'm so glad you asked, Bobby. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup's like, you can start creating today. And then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard.
With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Spotify for Podcasters is where we host our podcast, and it is super easy to use. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. It's the 2023 Tipping Pitches All-GIF draft. We're joined by, honestly, what I would call in the podcasting world, a crowd. We got a lot of people on the Zoom right now.
Alex dream blunt rotation right here.
Alex Baisley was the final person into the Zoom. He was late by like 7 minutes. He was still rolling the blunt, I guess. But now that he's here, we can all start passing it around. We are joined by Jane Ost and Stephen Hesson of the Batting Around podcast, which is our frequent collaborator on silly ideas such as this one. So we thought that it would be appropriate for you guys to join us for this episode. Thank you for being a part of this.
I'm glad I could finally be here for one. I couldn't make it to last year's. Had to have Stephen represent us. But
Stephen, who did you select last year?
I did us pretty well last year. I picked Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Heard of him.
Meanwhile, you guys picked Nick Castellanos immediately after me.
He had some good moments,
Yeah,
How about
he
that
did.
sliding catch in the World Series?
Pretty good.
If we were drafting sound bites, like interview clips, he would have held it down for us.
Big time.
Fuck yes.
We are also joined by Bekah Ansbro, the representative of the Tipping Pitches community, to help us select first overall the leader in the poll that we put out to the patrons. Hi, Bekah. How are you?
I am well. This is my podcasting debut. And
Like,
I am
overall or just
overall.
on this pod? Never been on the
overall,
pod.
never been
wow.
on one besides my voicemails. Yep. So
That's true,
excited to
actually.
be here live.
It's great to have you. We're honored that you joined us to make the selection for the Tipping Pitches community. But we would like to roll out the red carpet for our guests to make the first overall selection because it's only fair. They are joining us so kindly. So I turn it over to you, Stephen Hesson. You're going to make the first selection for Batting Around.
I need you to know that this is absolutely agonizing to me. I was coming up with a few ideas here and there. And I was hoping that a few people would have gone before me so that I'd be able to clarify, like, okay, cool. Like, he's not an option. I'll go here.
You might be the first person who's interested in trading down in the All-GIF draft. You're like, no, I'll take the 4th round pick.
Truly, because I like being that. I like coming out of left field. I like being that wild card. I like other baseball metaphors for being a weirdo. It's between two. I think, you know what? Last year you picked Nick Castellanos right out from under me, and you were gloating about it because you knew that I was going to be posting a lot of Nick Castellanos GIFs online because he is a Philly and he is hot and he is fun.
Yeah, we were going to make you do our work for us.
Bobby, I'm going to snipe you.
Oh, no.
With my first selection, in light of recent events and news and rule changes, I am going to select with my first pick, Max Scherzer.
Okay.
Good call.
So,
he was on my short list too.
Near and dear to the hearts of nearly everyone on this podcast. Bekah, a Washington Nationals fan. Me being a Mets fan. Jane wearing a Mets hat. You are an honorary Mets fan right now.
Yeah.
And Alex,
absolutely.
I believe you selected Max Scherzer in the very first All-GIF draft that we did, which was just you versus me. And you selected him as kind of like the serial killer of Major League Baseball to draft some GIFs of him muttering curse words under his breath to himself as he's delivering a pitch. So, Stephen, you alluded a little bit to the pitch clock.
Yes.
Is your selection of him primarily based around the shenanigans that he will no doubt get into this year?
Am I allowed to talk about this?
Yes.
This banned topic.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. So, okay, wait. This actually gives me opportunity to say.
Does this apply to guests?
I'm so sorry, Alex.
The topic was banned by Alex. As is my right, I put up a little cheeky little poll in the Spotify to see if the listeners agreed with the banning of the topic. And you know what? They didn't. So democracy in action 1 week later, Stephen, I do think you are allowed to talk about it. It's only Alex and I with each other who are banned from speaking about the pitch clock.
So
we just can't respond to anything that you say, unfortunately.
Because I have a lot of things to say about Tony La Russa's managing style. About individual players and their NFTs. I know that one's from last year, but it's carrying over, and I still have a lot to discuss about that.
Stephen, would you like to talk a little bit about Max Scherzer in your selection?
Yeah, so I think Max Scherzer is one of those players that's kind of always going to be a consideration for this because of just how he plays, how he emotes while playing, or doesn't in a very fun and interesting way. He's a fucking phenomenal pitcher. He's on a big team that gets a lot of attention, that is going to be good this year.
That's right. I don't feel that strongly about that second part, but that's okay.
Look, the Mets get a lot of attention even when they're bad. It's just part of
arguably
being the
more
Mets,
attention.
Yeah, exactly. So no matter what, this would be a good pick, I think.
Yeah, I think this would be a good pick in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. But what pushes it over the top for me is the man is like a fucking psychopath, specifically toward this pitch clock. We've already gotten some shenanigans in spring training with him just manipulating it to his advantage and sometimes to his disadvantage, both of which were very funny. And I'm excited to see this play out over the course of an entire season. I don't think that I can go wrong here.
What is the platonic ideal GIF that Max Scherzer would create for you this year? Is it like flipping off the pitch clock? You know, like
no,
he's being ejected for arguing about it?
I think maybe like him quick pitching, like running down the clock and then quick pitching the batter when he's not ready, and then just kind of like staring dead-eyed into the middle distance at like a shark, as he is wont to do, a heterochromatic shark. He's great. I've always liked him. I've always found it to be a bummer when he has been on not one but two of my division rivals. But yeah, that's my pick.
I think my favorite type of Scherzer like GIF or type of like Scherzer moment to capture is when he's just like snarling while he's I mean, it used to be when he was like reading signs from the catcher or something, but now I guess they don't have that with the pitch comm, but I still think there's plenty of like good snarling that we could get out of him.
Oh yeah, we could get
season.
like him unintentionally violating the pitch clock, getting like a pitch clock violation, and
That's
then
true.
like screaming an obscenity.
Yeah,
that screamed obscenities are always great as GIFs.
Mm-hmm.
He's also going to be wearing the pitch comm this year. He will get to have his own pitch comm on the mound, which it could lead to like how like a 7-year-old gets mad when they lose in a PlayStation game and chucks the controller against the wall. He could do that. If it doesn't work, he might just launch one into the stands.
I have visions of him doing the like LeBron, right? Where he kind of acts like he's out of breath and he like needs to wait a second
Totally.
and saunters up to the rubber. And then, like you said, Steven, quick pitches in like 0.2 seconds and catches the batter off guard. Like it's going to happen by the time April's over. I have a feeling.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay. We're up. The second overall selection, the first selection for the Tipping Pitches podcast team. Bekah, I turn it over to you. The polls are in. We have our result. A last minute neck and neck photo finish. Who's it going to be?
We are going to be taking Seattle sweetheart, Julio Rodriguez.
Very good pick.
Very good pick.
The community they never let us down. They
don't.
Let us down.
It was a great pick.
Bekah, do you want to talk a little bit about Julio? So Julio was chosen both for this first overall pick for our team, as well as the player with the best vibes in our Tipping Pitches end of year Patreon survey that we sent out to people. So as the voice of the Tipping Pitches community on this episode, can you speak to a little bit why we're all so obsessed with Julio?
Yeah, I mean, I think picking him for the best vibes was the right answer here, and it kind of translates over to GIFs pretty well. Outside of his just incredible baseball ability, I think it helps that he's on a fun team like the Mariners. So we're going to get him being a little goofy. If we have another, what was it, the All-Star game where he was messing with Liam Hendricks, I hope we get more of that.
Mhm.
That made for some good content. So I think the Tipping Pitches community did well with this one.
That's been a really big thing that we have, I think, realized as we've gone through this draft is the importance of the surrounding cast of characters.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
you can exist in a vacuum and be a great, fun player, but having people that you can kind of play off of, right? We picked White Sox players in the past, like Tim Anderson, because that's a similarly sort of young and fun team. And Julio, I feel like you said, he's got JP Crawford around him, right? He's got other Mariners players that I'm familiar with as well.
They play in the division of your favorite team. You should know.
This was like, you sort of opened my eyes to this concept of needing either like a Robin to your Batman or sort of like a wider cast for creating GIFs when you selected Adrian Beltre way back when in the day. Because what would Adrian Beltre GIFs be without Elvis Andrews trying to touch his head all the time? Like, he just wouldn't create such viral moments necessarily.
The John to his Paul, I'm always
right, exactly. Well, I mean, Beltre is great on his own too when he picked up the batter's box and moved it so that it could be so that he couldn't get, I don't know, warned by the umpire for it. But that idea of being around other players who you can create viral moments with, I think, is not to be ignored in the GIF draft. And I mean, Julio is like, he is the face of baseball kind of right now. He is the player that I think that MLB is most actively invested in getting in front of as many people as possible. Maybe him and Soto. I think that mantle was held by Tatis a few years ago, but obviously some things have changed. So I can't say anything more about that. Otherwise, I will violate the ban topics. But Julio is like a fan favorite across all of baseball, and the fact that the Mariners was such a feel-good story last year, I think vaults him sort of into this range. He's also like good at the actual sport, you know, like he'll make GIFs of like highlight catches too, home runs. He's a very fun player to actually watch play baseball too. Okay, Jane, you're up. Third selection, first in the second round. All
right, so we just had the World Baseball Classic. It was incredibly exciting. There was a ton of great moments from that. I, in fact, got so excited watching Puerto Rico versus Dominican Republic that I smashed my TV right after the last pitch. But based on how fun that was, seeing Edwin Diaz get that last hit, pitch to get that upset, I'm going with Edwin Diaz for the best GIFs coming up this year.
Okay.
Is he gonna play?
Did something happen right after that last pitch?
Oh, Jesus, Jane.
I thought this was a bit at first.
It is a bit. Come on.
It's a bit.
Come on, it's a bit. Yes, of course I know Edwin Diaz.
The longest moment of silence in the history of the podcast.
I know.
Jane, oh my God. I'm so sad. I'm sorry.
I think it was just too hurtful for Bobby.
Too close to home.
Too close to home for
Bobby.
Close to home. That it just bombed instead. No, but someone that was, I do want my real pick. If I was picking this to win, whatever this GIF was, I would pick Shohei Ohtani. It was Steven's pick, first overall pick last year.
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer that's what I'd be going with. But I'm here to help people with their sleeper GIF picks.
Yeah.
All right. And if in your leagues, Shohei's probably already taken. Juan Soto's probably already taken. A lot of these guys are already taken. I'm going to give you one that's probably flying under the radar. Luis Ariz.
Okay. I love it. Close to home pick for you too.
It was not so much anymore because he is now in Miami, which I do think was a good trade. Miami fans have fun watching him try to play second base again. But during the World Baseball Classic, if it were not for an incredible home run grand slam by that twink Trey Turner, that would have been like the Luis Ariz game, the Venezuela US one, where he somehow pulled out some power that we've never seen. He's never hit 2 home runs in his life in a game before. He hit 2 big like go ahead home runs in that game, and I was hoping that would springboard a little bit more attention to him, because I mean he won the batting title last year. Took the Triple Crown away from Aaron Judge by doing that. But he's
Sick
always
move.
an extremely fun guy to watch. He dances around in the batter's box in like a way kind of like people love about Juan Soto. Where he'll like just spit on a pitch as it goes by and then dance around a little bit or shake his head. Like, no. Really, really fun guy to watch. He's a short king. He's got a boyish little charming face. Ton of fun. Hopefully in Miami, he can stay healthy because he has the knees of a 50-year-old. And help their offense a bit and not be too much of a butcher back at second base. But Luis Arraez, that is my pick, and that is my sleeper GIF draft pick to help you win your GIF draft leagues.
I love imagining that like there are leagues of GIF fantasy players all around the world who are just waiting on this very valuable information.
I've had Arraez in my keeper league for years.
You note that he is maybe a question mark defensively at second base.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
That could make for a good GIF. It doesn't have to be a positive play. You could bobble it off your own face.
It could. Yeah.
I was about to build off that. Like, I think this is a great pick because you got the good and you got the bad and you got the emotion, the je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thoughts on Luis Arraez, Alex? You have been a noted Miami Marlins defender over the years. You're a fan of their pitching rotation. And so every year you try to tell me, who's sneaky good? And then you just like talk about Marlins players for 5 minutes and my brain just shuts off. But do you want to make the case for why the Marlins are actually going to win the NL East?
No, I don't.
No.
But what makes Arraez so interesting, right, is he's the kind of player that just doesn't exist anymore. Right?
Exactly.
He has more walks than strikeouts in his career, right? And again, it's like a bit of a volume shooter where he puts the bat on ball so much, the opportunities are just there for more GIFs, right? As you mentioned, I think I don't want to defend the Marlins, and I don't think Luis Arraez does either. But that's okay, because I think those opportunities give rise to pun intended. Like the
yeah, you're talking like a bunch of Yankees fans over here making Rise puns.
Oh God!
I don't know. I love.
Wait, can we reclaim?
It's traditional.
We should reclaim all Rise for a Luis Arraez.
Yes,
I think so.
Let's go.
Yankees fans just be so mad.
Before he got traded, there was a company up here making Arraez 316 t-shirts because he hit for 316 when he won the batting title. But I like some Arraez, / the Bible / Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think is pretty good too. But just as long as you can just make Yankees fans a little bit more upset. Perfect.
I mean, he's also, I don't know what number he's going to wear on the Marlins, but he was number 2 on the Twins, right? So we can kind of two birds, one stone.
Greatest number 2 to ever be associated with the Miami Marlins, perhaps.
Yeah,
that's my captain.
Perhaps. Just put him at shortstop, dog. The Marlins don't have anyone to play shortstop this year.
His knees would just fucking explode if you tried to put him at shortstop for more than about 2 innings.
Good luck to him. He definitely is a throwback type of player.
I love him. Yeah.
I think this is a good selection. Now that we've sufficiently pissed off the Yankees fans, as is our want,
I pissed off all of New York during that.
We are now going to reel them back in, just like we always do, because Tipping Pitches is a Yankees podcast with the 4th overall selection in the 2023 All-GIF draft. We're going to select Nestor Cortez, the starting pitcher.
Love it.
For the New York Yankees. Man, this guy is so much fun. God damn it, he's a lot of fun. And I hate it when the Yankees have players that are more fun than the other players.
I know.
Like,
it's bad.
It's impossible to root against this guy. He's so sweet. He is just exuding joy and love of the game on the field. I know that they're trying to change the balk rules to, which I'm also not allowed to talk about, I guess. I know that this was a wild ban by you, dog. Like, we just are not going to be able to talk about so many things this year. But I know that some stuff with his delivery might be sort of in flux this year, whether he's actually allowed to do some of these things that he does. But either way, he's going to find a way to be funky and weird out there. And it's just impossible not to root for a guy like that. And from the GIF perspective, he is doing things that look different than every other player on Major League Baseball field. And he's also like a sneaky great athlete, like the way that he feels the position, the highlights that he makes in the field, covering first base, that sort of thing. And he's a little bit of a prankster too. He like pulls positive personality traits out of New York Yankees players, which is no joke. It's hard to do.
That is magic.
So he might not have quite the supporting cast that someone like Julio Rodriguez has in terms of likable players, but he makes them seem likable, which is honestly more impressive. I feel like we're doing the tipping pitches community right. Bekah, what do you have a take on Nestor?
No, I agree with everything you said. I do have to backtrack for a second. I just appreciate that even though Alex showed up late, he did seamlessly fill in the Miami Marlins role. Right before you got on, we pointed out that Steven and Jay both have on their NL East hats, and I have on my NL East sweatshirt. And we said, who's taking the Marlins? No one volunteered. Little did we know.
We all didn't know those while you were
up.
gone. Yeah.
No, but Nasty Nestor is a great pick. I mean, I hope that they don't change the bulk rules, but Manfred doesn't like to have fun, so it wouldn't be surprising. But I think the mustache helps. I think.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was waiting for someone to mention the mustache. I'm like, am I really going to be the first one?
No, don't worry about it, Steven. You're absolutely right. The mustache does help.
No, and I don't think that any new rules are really going to hurt him too much. He's not a guy that relies just like on like a ton of velocity or anything. He's a crafty guy. Yeah, he's not like he's not built like you'd expect a starting pitcher to be built like these days. He's like kind of a crafty guy. I think he's a fighter.
He's clearly flexible and adjustable.
Yes.
So if they change the rule that changes his delivery, like he's not going to have a problem with that.
Exactly.
He will literally throw with the other hand if he has to.
That would be sick.
Yeah, and you mentioned the cast of characters around him. It gave me an idea. We should do like a She's All That sort of thing where Nestor Cortez has to make Josh Donaldson seem likable. Like by the All-Star game, can you make Josh Donaldson like get a positive media hit in there about him?
If he can, we might have to just like elect him president because that would be really
bringing the country together.
Truly a feat.
I do appreciate that the two pitchers taken are kind of polar opposites. We have Scary Max and Happy Nestor.
Totally.
I think
Both
very giveable for very different reasons.
Yeah.
I think that those guys would have a fun time hanging out, personally.
I think so too. Max
I think that they would really respect each other's crafts.
Days. Yeah.
Max looks like so much fun in his off days. He's just wearing all like slinky athletic wear. Dude is wearing shorts everywhere.
Yeah.
God, I love that guy.
I would like to see him get ejected for bitching about the pitch clock when he is not pitching.
Max?
I want one of the other Mets pitchers to get called on it, and Max just starts drawing at the umpire.
So, okay, wait. The pitch clock, which I am not allowed to talk about.
You can't talk about
I'm just going to keep talking about it. If I were to ask a question about the pitch clock, this question would be, for argument's sake, for Nestor Cortez.
Hypothetically speaking.
It's when your wind-up starts, right? So he can do all his funky little pauses and shenanigans. It's just he has to start the wind-up by the time the pitch clock has ended, right? He doesn't have to release the ball by then.
I mean,
I think it's when you lift up your
we can't talk about
leg.
So, Alex, if you were to answer me, it would be the answer would be this.
I think in theory, it would be when you would, generally speaking, lift up your lead leg.
Okay.
The pitch clock would hypothetically stop.
Okay, great. Thank you for hypothetically answering that question.
I am so excited to track your podcast throughout the season, and just see like how long you guys go talking, like continuing to talk about all the rule changes, but
Mhm.
constantly like framing them and talking around that they are technically banned, even though
Yeah.
you're still talking about
I'm going to
them.
be documenting all of your violations of this and then filing a class action lawsuit on behalf of all of
our
your
listeners?
Jade, we'll do.
For
we'll
misleading
do-
the investors.
I'm in a civil litigations class right now. I'll learn a couple things. In
You're
10
so
weeks,
cooked.
I'm gonna sue you.
Becca,
Jade,
you're in law school too. You can defend us.
I'm not a good lawyer. I can't help
Well,
you.
you're the only lawyer we got. So
Jane, we just watched Brockmire. We can take him to kangaroo court.
That's true. That's true.
that is
Yeah.
true.
Mm.
Kangaroo court is the appropriate place to
Mhm.
litigate this, I think.
Just know
Um,
that the Tipping Pitches fan union is already mobilizing and they're not happy. If there's not 3 minutes of just like a bleeped out section in this episode, there might be some issues.
Yeah, exactly. We have demands for management, and we must be met at the table. By like May 1st, the whole podcast is gonna be spoken in like that 1990 like video game speak. Like, you come to a pitch clock violation. You have the choice of bringing up the pitch clock violation.
Yeah, just talking like
To your
Yoda
left,
doesn't
you
get you
see
out of
the
it.
angry listeners. To your right, you see a boring podcast. Which way do you choose, player? Jane Oss, Stephen
Yes,
Hesson, Batting
yes.
Around podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. This was so much fun.
It's always
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure being here.
Yep, love it.
And Bekah Ansbro, you did us a solid by being the voice of the Tipping Pitches community. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Hey, you know what? Anything to keep the community together. You know, we're not looking too kindly upon you two right now. So
Damn, we're in
I
hot
came
water.
here to let you know that
gosh.
more than anything.
First round, there's already blood in the water. Okay.
Mhm.
1-1 from Jansen.
There you go, left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio, oh baby, what a moment! Tie ball game at 7-7.
Okay, Alex. Round number 3. You know, we were supposed to be joined by Clinton Yates, but this is a Tipping Pitches First. Clinton is famous for these Tipping Pitches Firsts. Last year, he selected Buck Showalter, a manager, testing the limitations of the rules of this event. We weren't even sure if you were allowed to select a manager until Clinton did it, and we were like, you know what? Good idea. I guess you're allowed to select a manager. Clinton was supposed to join us, but then something came up and he was not able to, yet he still wanted to get his pick in. So Clinton Yates has a write-in pick this year that I am going to share in his stead. Clinton is picking Tristan McKenzie, who he thinks is finally settled into being a big league star, and he expects his smile and infectious energy /line to be off the chart. This is a great pick.
Mm-hmm.
Has Sticks been selected before? I don't think he has.
I don't think he has, no. Which, you know, I think you can attribute to it being his first couple of years in the league, so getting his feet under him. But
Yeah.
it's very clear that like he is at the point now where he's ready to break out, right? And again, just another really enjoyable player to watch that does not look like the average Major League Baseball player in 2023, you know? And I really appreciate that. I did see an alert from about 20 minutes ago that he was pulled from his spring training start, so we're going to have to
Oh, no.
see how we may have more information tomorrow. But barring anything major, this is a great pick from Clinton. I mean, 6. He's that dude. Cy Young 2023. Here it comes.
5 picks so far. 3 starting pitchers. Usually not the route that everybody goes.
No.
But I guess that's just how the draft board is shaking out this year.
Yeah, man, the starting pitcher's back on top. And everyone wants to talk about offense.
You know why? Because everybody heard my rant about pitcher wins. That's
Yep.
why.
Uh-huh.
They're like, pitcher wins. We better get some starters in the All-GIF draft. The triumphant image of the pitcher realizing that they've locked down the pitcher win for the day.
Right,
Makes for a
exactly.
great GIF.
They just hit their contract incentive for 15 wins.
It's all about getting these players paid, man. You know, that's our vibe. Okay. We are up to pick number 6. Our selection in the 3rd round. Would you like to do the honors?
Of course, that is the once and future king of Philadelphia sports, one Trey Vance Turner.
Vance. Wow. Vance. You a big Vance Joy guy?
No. Is that a thing?
What, big Vance Joy guys?
Yeah.
None that I've ever met, but you know, I keep asking around.
Trey Turner feels kind of tailor-made for this. And I don't know that, has he been picked before? Maybe
to my recollection.
Maybe he went in the last couple years. I don't know. But I feel like the last couple years he has been turning out gifts to the point where it would be a dereliction of our duties if he was not represented here in the draft. Obviously, I feel like the one that everyone's mind jumps to is his slides at home plate, right? Like that's his tool that stands out. But
do you think that he decides ahead of time, like before the game starts, when he's going to do that kind of slide? He's like, today is one of those days.
That's a good question, but I would hope that it's more impulsive than that, as he's scampering down the third base line.
Great word.
I want him like reading the field as it happens.
He's a bit of a scamper.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe his running style. Yeah, the slides alone are reason enough to select him, but he also is a very aesthetically pleasing baseball player, and that's not just even a comment on his boyish, charming, good looks. He does the things that are fun to visually watch while playing. He has that one-hand swing where he lets go with his guiding hand at the end of his swing, which is very aesthetically pleasing. He's obviously fast. He plays a middle infield position. He is now going to be on a team with some people who seem to be friends with him. So we are having that boosted effect of him getting to hang out with Bryce Harper, who has been selected in this draft many a times, and Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. I don't know if any of these people are friends with the very boring Zach Wheeler, but this is a good team who's going to be in the spotlight a lot, and Trey Turner is kind of the central new piece to this team. So it's a good pick. I'm complimenting our own pick, but I'm complimenting it because you were pushing for it. So
yeah, I feel good about it too. And we need at least one Philly representative. I do feel like that is an unintentional mainstay.
I don't feel that way.
No.
Okay. We'll come back in just a second with our next guest, Sarah Langs.
Turner to left field and deep. Peralta back. It is gone.
We are on to round 4, 2023 All-GIF draft. We have the pleasure of being joined for the first time for the GIF draft by Sarah Langs, MLB Network reporter, researcher, overall baseball Twitter star and legend. Sarah, it is our honor. Thank you for joining us here on the pod.
Oh my goodness. One intro. Thank you so much. This is awesome. I, as you referred to, tweet a lot about baseball, yes, but also really tried to keep track of those really good GIF moments. So I feel like this is perfect. And I was thinking back to moments from last year as I was kind of preparing for this when you reached out. So this is awesome. Thank you.
I love the varying degrees to which people do their own preparation for this, right? Like some people, again, will go listen to last year's, will go through the pitching ninja Twitter, will create a big board with picks and backup picks. That process is arguably just as fun to me as sitting down and making the picks themselves and ruling names off the list. But we're so glad you could join us. You're an oft requested guest by many of our listeners. So we're glad to finally make it happen.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I will say, I am proud to say this is probably the least amount of preparation I've had to do for a podcast.
Good.
That's a good thing because usually it's hey, who's going to lead the league in homers? And I have to go through Fangraphs and go through Zips and everything. This is, hey, who are the most fun players in baseball? That I've got, I think.
I mean, that's why we made it. It's because we wanted to create the least amount of work for ourselves. So you are reaping the benefit of Alex and I's laziness from 2018. It's still paying dividends. Okay, I gave you a quick briefing of who's already been selected. For the listeners' sake, I'm going to run through those names and who selected them very quickly right here, and then I will turn it to you, Sarah. The selections so far have been Max Scherzer, made by Stephen Hesson of Batting Around, Julio Rodriguez, made by the Tipping Pitches Patreon community, selected by Bekah Ansbro. Third overall was Luis Arias, selected by Jane Ost of Batting Around. And we selected Nasty Nestor Cortez, And then 5th overall, Tristan McKenzie, selected by Clinton Yates in a write-in ballot this year because he was unable to join us, unfortunately. And then 6th overall, we selected Trey Turner, he of the beautiful, gorgeous, aesthetically pleasing slides and that wonderful one-hand swing. So you have quite a selection to follow up. So we turn it over to you, Sarah Lang, 7th overall pick in the 2023 All-GIF draft. Who are you going to take?
I do want to say I thought Julio would be the number 1 overall pick, and I was hoping I might have that pick and I might get to take him. Max is a great choice too. I love that. Obviously, everything he does on the mound, but I thought Julio was like far and away number 1. So I love that we have some intrigue here. I am going to surprise nobody who follows me or knows the players I talk about most and take Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
Who is a very fun and exciting player, of course, but also celebrator, as we saw in the WBC. Even though the DR didn't have a great WBC, he did. He hit close to 500, hit a couple of home runs, and we saw him celebrating with Julio in the outfield when Julio made that great catch against Puerto Rico after the other play prior. He is a really fun player visually, and I feel like that will be on display in a big way, not to mention the fact the Padres have their really fun sort of finger-pointing celebration, and he's a big part of that. And maybe I'm slightly biased here also by the fact that the Brooklyn Nets' Mikal Bridges was talking again last night about how much he likes to imitate that celebration, talking about how he watches baseball and he loves that Padres celebration. That is a big Manny Machado and Juan Soto thing.
You brought up the World Baseball Classic, and it's something that we've never really got the opportunity to do the draft sort of amid or on the heels of the World Baseball Classic. And it almost feels a little bit unfair because it's like, unfair, but it's also a perfect preview of the season, right? Seeing almost like the MLB GIF draft combine, right? Like we get to see it all out on display.
Yeah, bro, they did the World Baseball Classic for us. That's definitely why. Just for us to do the GIF draft. Yeah. Soto is a great selection. He's been taken quite a few times at this point because he's been in baseball for so long now, despite the fact that he's only like 24. Langs, for you, how has Soto aged? Like, how much has he changed as a persona from when he came up and he was a young, fresh face with the Nats in 2019? How has your love for his game and his playing style grown over the years? And I guess what do you expect from him in San Diego this year? Because that's a team with high expectations. The first time that they've been projected to actually win that division basically ever, like since we were projecting team wins. So a lot of pressure, but also that Soto loves and thrives on pressure.
He does. And, to answer the second question first about the expectation, I wrote a story probably a month ago about how I expect him, based on the numbers, to be the one sort of that we are used to in 2023. I think a lot of factors went into last year. Obviously, there are a lot of intangibles that I can't define. Nobody can define with stats, but being traded, rumors, all of that going on is certainly not easy to play through. So that may have had some sort of effect. But if you look at stuff like expected stats, Juan Soto also had some unlucky breaks. If you look at that now, the expected stats, which are based on the contact he made, were still not in the echelon we're used to for him. But they do show us that he was better than the back of like a baseball card might tell you, which is very important. It also tells us, if you look at his baseball savant page, he didn't make as much hard contact or as much line drive contact as he normally does. This is an outstanding hitter. So to your first question, he has certainly gotten better since he's been in the league. But what has amazed me from day one is that plate discipline. We saw it in the minors, and we saw it when he debuted in 2018. And if anything, he has even gotten more discerning. So I think knowing that that is the baseline, you can have a lot of faith that a really great hitter who still compares to Ted Williams at this age and moving forward, it's going to be really good again this year.
Actual talent on a baseball field is something that I think often gets underrated in the GIF draft, right? But like Soto is the perfect example of like he's going to do something no matter what, right? Like whether he succeeds or fails, he's going to wow you, and also he's probably going to succeed most of the time, which helps his case.
The baseline GIF of him that gets circulated and shared that is so fun every time is him just spitting on a pitch that's like right on the borderline, and him knowing that it's on the borderline and turning and looking at the pitcher and being like, that was on the borderline. I know that was on the borderline, and I still spit on it, which I love. And it happens, dozens of times a week for him because he's so tremendous. But then I think like the ceiling with him too is really great, because you think back to that 2019 wildcard moment of him just being overwhelmed with joy and exuberance after the error in right field with Trent Grisham, and he's rounding second. He still gets thrown out somehow, but he's celebrating while he's getting tagged out. So he has both like a steady baseline of what he creates from a GIF perspective, obviously as a player too, but then also a very, very high ceiling that he can reach at times too, because of his, exuberant personality.
He does. And, I'm glad you mentioned that with 2019, because my sort of go-to GIF with him, and I actually think on my phone on Twitter, if you click GIFs, it has like, what's your most recent or most used, something like that. I think this one still is for me. It's him standing in left field in Houston in 2019, putting his hands up to the sky and celebrating right as the game was ending when they won the World Series. And I think 2019 was a really important moment for everybody in baseball and around baseball to see that it's not just this young player who is such a great plate discipline, such a great hitter, but that he does have that personality that's out there on the biggest stage. And it was there from day one, but seeing it on national games, in World Series games, in that moment where he hit the home run off Clayton Kershaw in Game 5 of the NLDS that year, I think that's where you really see that emotion. And going back to the WBC, that's where we got to see a lot of this too. So I do wonder if this draft would have looked different if it was done 3 weeks ago. Like, I wonder if Trey Turner was more on the mind because of everything he did, even though that wasn't even his slot.
Yeah, man, he had a great WBC. So I'm quaking in my boots with him being back against me in the NL East this year as a Mets fan. But he's a tremendous player. Very fun to watch, which is why we selected him. Okay, Alex, it's time for us to do our deed and select 8th overall. Langs, with you here, baseball savant wizard that you are, we decided that we would hew our pick towards that and select Oneil Cruz, who does things on a baseball field that like maybe literally no one else has ever done, And I think sometimes like the baseball savant screenshot doesn't always necessarily translate to the play being that visually noticeable. Like sometimes a guy cracks 110 off the bat, but if it's a ground ball and these like the fielder fields it cleanly, it can be hard to tell that was a sensational exit velocity necessarily. But what's so amazing about Oneil Cruz is that it pretty much always looks unbelievable too. Everything he does, the way the ball jumps off of his bat, just the arm strength, the height of him on the field in the middle of the diamond, being able to make these plays with these super long arms and just unbelievable twitchy athleticism. And he's just a remarkably noticeable baseball player on the field. And so I think that was what kind of got him on our long list. Alex, you actually were the one that had him on your long list, and I had left him off. So do you want to wax up poetic a little bit about kind of one of the few things that's fun to watch about the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Yeah, he feels like he is the perfect kind of candidate for this draft, right? Because he's got the loud sort of tools. He's got the swagger on the baseball field. Obviously, it hurts a little bit that like he's not necessarily in an environment that with a rising tide that kind of lifts all the boats. But he
put him on the Padres, bro.
Yeah, actually. But like, no matter, because he's got the tools, he's gonna have the standout plays, right? And like you mentioned, Bobby, I think it's kind of interesting because sometimes those don't necessarily translate to like that wow moment, right? It's like he just hit the hardest baseball that we've ever tracked, and it was a single to right field, right? And you're like, okay. But I'm still going to watch the ball come off that bat 100 times.
Sometimes he hits it off the end of the bat and it like one hops the wall. And I'm like, what is happening here? I just don't understand.
Then they
how
asked
he's
him
real.
about it after the game, and he's like, yeah, I didn't realize I actually hit it that hard. And I'm like, what? Sarah, I'd love to hear your perspective on him, again, being someone who's like so immersed in a lot of these stats and like looking at different ways to sort of think about baseball players. What kind of stands out to you about Oneil Cruz?
Well, I mean, as you guys said, it's those measurable tools. It's that amazing arm and all of that strength. But for this draft, another part of it that I really like is that he plays at PNC. And you have that beautiful background in the visual of any GIF that comes out of a home game, right? You're probably going to get some home runs into the Allegheny. We're going to have boats going up to that, or maybe a dog jumping into the water, whatever it might be. So I feel like that's kind of part of it too, the aesthetics. But as you said, I mean, he's been in the majors for basically a year now. If you count like 2 games at the end of 21, and then last year, he already had the hardest hit ball drafted by Statcast, which shook a lot to upend Giancarlo Stanton, who had the individual hardest hit ball in every season under Statcast. And then Oneil Cruz came and said, nope, I'm going to go past this. And then he has the hardest throws we've seen from shortstop. And everything he does is kind of at the top of the leaderboard like that. I also think that because his biggest moments are very event-based, a big home run, a big throw, something like that, that also translates really well to being a GIF. It's not necessarily going to be the, bases clearing double or walk-off, double, triple, whatever. It's going to be a very discrete event for him, given this team and everything else, which I think translates as well.
I like that you pointed out where he actually plays too, because I feel like that's something that actually does not come up very often when we're talking about GIFs, but like is huge, right? In like setting the environment. And as you mentioned, PNC is a gorgeous setting, right? I mean, you could drop any player in there and I'd watch him hit baseballs all day, except for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But like otherwise,
we're going so hard at the Pirates, but you know what?
Really, for no reason. We did just draft one of their players.
It's directed at Bob Nutting. It has nothing to do with Oneil Cruz. It's not his fault. I'm excited to watch him all year. Of course, there's going to be growing pains as there is with any young player, and he has a lot of swing and miss in his game that are not going to be made into GIFs, but that doesn't really matter for the purposes of this podcast. This podcast is about the highlights. It's about the ups, not the downs. So, Langs, Juan Soto, great choice. We got Oneil Cruz. Thank you so much for joining us on the 2023 All-GIF Draft. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I love this, and I can't wait to see the full list.
Payoff pitch. And a high fly ball to deep right field. Juan Soto has left the yard. First time in a Padres uniform. The Soto shuffle and make his way all the way around to tie the score 1-1. Welcome
all right.
to San Diego.
It's a yearly tradition. They're here to do the GIF draft. They're here to make fun of us for not being as good at the GIF draft as them. It's Jake Mintz and Jordan Schusterman of Cespedes Family Barbecue. Hello, gentlemen. It's nice to share a Zoom link with you.
I am a year older, a year wiser, and a year kinder, and I have no intention to make fun.
And a year less handsome.
And a year less handsome than you and Alex, and that is true. But I have no intention to make fun of anyone. I will not demean for your inability to properly cover the sport of baseball. Jordan?
Yeah, no, I agree. We're just here to make good picks and get better. So that's really what this is about. And
one pick at a time.
As always, we feel confident in our board, and we look forward to finding out who will not be available for us to select. I actually feel like the last few times we've done this, we make a board and we're like, oh, these guys have been taken. And then you give us all the names and it's like, oh, actually, they're still available. And then we're like, oh, crap, we have so many options. But as I understand it, we always do this. Jake and I are drafting together. We have crafted our board together, but we get to take 2 picks in total.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, I'm going to give you the lowdown of who has been selected already and who selected them. You have not heard this information yet, so we'll see if anybody on this board was on your board. First overall pick, Max Scherzer, made by Steven Hesson of the Batting Around podcast. Julio Rodriguez, second overall, made by Tipping Pitches fan community via Bekah Ansbro, friend of yours. She came on to represent the Patreon. Luis Ariz, third overall, made by Jane Ost. Nestor Cortez by the Tipping Pitches podcast. Tristan McKenzie by Clinton Yates via write-in because he was unable to join the Zoom.
That is the most Clinton Yates thing I've ever heard in my life. My man sent a telegram. Hey, can you come on the pod? No, but I can write you a letter.
Last year was the first time a manager had ever been selected when Clinton took Buck Showalter, and this year was the first time someone ever picked without actually coming on the podcast. So Clinton is famous for first.
But he's allowed to do that because he nailed the Buck pick.
Oh, I know.
It was an amazing pick.
It was unbelievable. Then we took Trey Turner. Sarah Langs came on and took Juan Soto. And then we, most recently, took O'Neal Cruz. So that brings it to you guys for the 9th overall selection in the 2023 gift draft.
Okay.
So to be clear, we'll pick and then you're going to pick another one, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Okay.
1 second. Jordan and I need to just do a quick bit of texting.
Yes. I think
this is how the magic happens.
I like your pick. I like your picks here. Here's what we're not. Yeah, we're not going to take. So last year, I believe we took Jazz, and we still love Jazz, and we're going to leave Jazz on the board because Jazz is available.
We nailed that. Like we won. Yeah, we did it.
Yeah,
right.
And honestly, he's like still our franchise. Like I still believe in Jazz, but for the purposes of like interesting podcast content, we're not just going to repeat all the things we love Jazz for. So we're going to skip him. And I think the first pick is like such a no-brainer. And the fact that we have still, we've gone now a while without watching him, we're taking Tatis.
Nice.
As much as,
hell yeah.
When you think about what you're looking for in a top gift draft player, you're looking for someone who is going to be, there are going to be a lot of cameras on him at all the time, right? So you need not just the regular broadcast angle, you need additional broadcast cameras being devoted to this player at all times while they are in the game. And Tatis he is that. And because we haven't actually got to watch him play baseball for a year, I think we are forgetting the kinds of highlights and the kinds of emotions that he makes us feel while he is on a baseball field. And I think that he is perfect for this. Jake?
The Padres are going to be hyper relevant, whether they are good or they are bad. And that is another big reason why Tatis was so high on our board. And Jordan, you make a great point. When he comes back at the end of April, he's going to be everywhere. Like there are going to be videos, pictures, GIFs, even maybe. And so even though he did take, Trabababazolol or Clostababble Dibble, like our program has no issue with cheating. So we're fine to
okay.
Tatis.
Nice. Well, the discussion of Fernando Tatis Jr.'s suspension is a banned topic from this podcast. So we are in accordance on that front. Last week, we banned a bunch of topics, including rule changes, including Tatis Jr. discourse. So we've had a tough time talking on this show so far, but that's okay.
I heard about the rule change discourse banning of the discourse, and I think I would have recommended to ban certain parts of it. I would have banned the bases.
Yeah, okay. But then you would have just been, you would have cut the legs out of that bill, so to speak. Alex was going full stop. He passed the whole New Deal, not half of it.
I only allowed bases, I'd like to point out.
Yeah,
I want to hear more base.
Oh, because you like them big old bases.
I do like the big old bases.
I need James Carville to say that out loud.
You guys, now that I'm thinking about it, you guys have actually seen the bases, the bigger bases. How much bigger are they?
They're big. They're big.
Man.
They're so big,
They're
right?
so big.
But they're also not that big. If you're like on the press box level or like in the upper deck, they're just bases, man. They're just bases. They're bigger, but they're not that big.
We're happy with Tatis here. He's amazing. He is also like there's always spicy potential for like, remember when him and Machado were like screaming at each other in the dugout? Like, there's all kinds of both, like, in the dugout. He's a good, like, when he pops out with the bases loaded, he could get really mad. He could get like, there's just a lot. There's just a lot here. So
Tatis is living my dream, screaming at Manny Machado on live television.
So we are very excited to have him back in our lives. So Tatis is our pick. We kick it back to you.
Alex, I'm going to let you do the honors on this one. He's a teammate of Tatis Jr. internationally, and he's near and dear to New York Mets fans' hearts.
Cesar Valdez?
No, you nailed it.
Yeah.
No, it's Starling Marte, Slack fan favorite.
I can't even begin to tell you how thirsty the tipping pitches Slack is for Starling Marte. This man walks into the outfield, and people are losing their shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've seen him with his shirt all the way unbuttoned more than I have like not, Yeah, I really respect the tenacity of our fans to find the horniest photos of Starling Marte. And oftentimes that may translate to GIF form. He's such an exciting player, I think, and can make things happen on the bases, in the outfield, at the plate. And again, he's just having the time of his life out there. And it shows so clearly. And again, it helps that he's a snack. Bobby, what do you think?
For me, the thing with Starling Marte is that he goes from completely relaxed to like explosive play so quickly. Like, he looks like he's just chilling in a men's league 80% of the time, and then the rest of the time he's like legging a single into a double, or he's stealing a base, or he's maybe not as good in the outfield as he was 5 years ago, but that's okay because Billy Epler turned Brandon Nimmo into Mike Trout, So I really love Starling Marte. I have grown to love him over the last year as he's become such a key cog in the New York Mets. But he's fun. He's like laid back swagger personified on the baseball field. And I think that he's a sleeper pick for the gift draft.
He's also in the running for the hottest bald man in New York.
That's right. Who else is in that race with him?
Who else is
him and Eric Adams? Like
him, Eric Adams, I guess
Fat Joe.
Larry David when he's in town.
Steve Cohen.
Not in the running. The Starling Marte pick also for you, Bobby, feels like a post facto excuse for losing to the Padres, because if I remember correctly, so much of the end of the Mets season was, if we had Marte, man, it would have been different.
He played. He did end up playing.
I know he
was good.
But he didn't play all 3 games, I believe, and I think that he didn't play down the stretch. If he had played down the stretch, they would have beat the Braves, and they would have had to play the Padres, right?
Like, that was the take.
Yeah.
Here's how the Mets would have beat the Padres. If they didn't suck ass in all 3 of those games, that would have helped. That would have
been so
if they didn't just absolutely totally put up a total stinker.
Why didn't they
3
think of
straight
that?
games?
Why didn't they think of that?
They should have thought of that. Yeah, I don't know.
Also,
I don't know.
It would have helped if anybody had shown up for Game 3. One of the most embarrassing fan performances of all time. Don't tell me about the ticket. Like, the place was sold out the first 2 days.
I know, I was there.
It was tough.
First game was one of the bleakest moments of my life. Alex can tell you it was so dark.
So tough to watch.
My only Starling Marte take is that he's one of my favorite career trajectories, just because he went Pittsburgh, Arizona, Miami, Oakland in front of 8 people. And then he's like, now I'm on the Mets and everyone thinks I'm the coolest person in the world.
Also,
Hell yeah.
behind Nelson Cruz, about as redeemable did Royd's guy as it gets. And in some ways,
top tier suspension, acting like it never happened.
Image rehab. Like, it's perfect transition from Tatis, because Tatis could learn a lot from Starling Marte. Just be hot and people will forget that you ever cheated.
And I know I'm shortchanging because he was beloved in Pittsburgh and was very good there. But as far as a national audience goes, nobody knew shit about this guy until suddenly he was like the most important player for an 100-win team in New York. So.
Remember when the A's traded for him like 2 years ago? And now the A's are what the A's are?
They gave up Jesus Luzardo, who is the number.
Remember when the A's were in the 2020 postseason? Alex, you remember that?
Yeah, that was sick.
All right.
I actually don't.
Okay.
I'll take your word for
You know
it.
who remembers
All
that?
right.
Rick Renteria.
Yes. Wow. Good
Goddamn.
times. They won that series. God damn. All right. Let's move on
Yes.
to our pick, our second pick, our back-to-back, our wraparound, whatever.
The 11th overall selection.
Jake, I'll let you do this one.
I don't particularly follow WWE, okay? But I understand it. I appreciate it for the theater of what it is. The members of WWE understand that sports are entertainment. Okay, even baseball. Baseball fans are not picking between baseball and soccer. They are picking between baseball and going to the movies, baseball and seeing a show, baseball and sitting on their phone. And there is one man who understands that baseball is entertainment in a WWE way, and his name is Josh Naylor. And we will be selecting Josh Naylor of the Cleveland Guardians.
Good one.
Stellar pick.
We feel good about Cleveland in general. A lot of good options, I think, on Cleveland's team with respect to Clinton Yates' Tristan McKenzie right in. Plenty of other Guardians I would have picked before Tristan, who I love dearly. But either way, Josh Naylor is a great one, and we were lucky enough to have Andre Knott, the in-game reporter for Cleveland, on our podcast recently. And just the way that he talks about Naylor, the way that his teammates talk about him. But the reality is, the whole reason we're taking him is that when he's playing a game, he's a completely different person in a very entertaining way. And that is what is required for a draft like this. And for a team that is never short on emotion and reactions, this is an easy one for us. So we'll go ahead and be very happy with our Josh Naylor selection.
This is a man who headbutted Terry Francona after hitting a walk-off home run last year. Okay. Francona's wearing a helmet and Naylor's not. And he takes Francona's head and slams it against his own. All right. This is a man who I described him to Andre Knott, like Jordan said. I said, man, Naylor's unhinged. And he was like, he's unhinged between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. in a way that I think is pitcher-y. Like, in a way that
it feels Scherzer-y.
Exact. That's exactly what I said. Scherzer-y, right? We don't see that with position players really that often. But Naylor's that kind of guy. He is screaming. He is yelling. Remember, he was rocking the baby and pissed off all the Yankees fans.
I remember. How could I forget?
Yeah. He's emotive in a way that ball players are not emotive.
He's like pure id when he's on the field.
Yeah.
And then he's just like a normal guy the rest of the time. He seems as though he cannot decide not to do the things that he's doing on the field. Like, that's just the only way he knows how. And it's really funny. He's also just like, he's a very roller coaster of a player, as a player too. Like, he'll make a wild error, or he'll hit an explosive home run, or he'll get thrown out trying to stretch a double into a triple. Like, any of these things are possible with Josh Naylor, just because he's that kind of player.
Correct. We feel really good about this. I also like the addition of Josh Bell to this team, because Josh Bell is the antithesis of Josh Naylor, where he is very calm, steady presence. He doesn't get too high or too low, and they'll be splitting time at first base and DH. And so I think it'll kind of elevate Naylor's outrageousness because he has a more steady presence right next to him.
Right. Josh Bell playing like the straight man to
Correct.
Josh Naylor's. Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Josh Bell is the Joe Davis, and Josh Naylor is the John Smoltz.
No comment.
Do we get to hear your next pick, or are we getting kicked off the pod?
Yes,
Okay,
of
go
course,
ahead.
of course. No, we're just going to make it by ourselves after you guys leave. Not get any commentary on it. Okay.
You guys made us too self-conscious last year. It's okay.
12th overall, 2023, all-GIF draft. We're going to select the third baseman for life of the Boston Red Sox, Rafael Devers, who, you know what? Is he the most baseball player in baseball right now? He just does all of the baseball guy stuff. He has the fat lip. He has the relaxed energy over at third. He has that swaggery baseball stance. He just looks like a guy who was born out of the womb, just like in the batter's box. I don't know how to describe it. Also, he's fucking amazing at hitting. He's just an awesome baseball player. And now that he's just going to be the most beloved Boston athlete, most likely, unless Mac Jones really turns it around in the next couple months, I think he should be at the center of the conversation in baseball.
Totally with you. I mean, he's been one of my favorite players since he showed up. Yeah, he's the best. And now, not that he wasn't already comfortable, but like, I hope, it's one of those things where it's like, I hope that he is even more comfortable and empowered to just continue to be his goofy self in a way that, like, I hope, like, I know our friend June Lee wrote this thing about how it's like, okay, like now Rafael Devers is like, in theory, like in charge,
Right, like the
which
guy.
is kind of weird, right? Because we still are thinking about him as this, 19-year-old kid who was wearing braces and is, mashing home runs off Aroldis Chapman or whatever. So I understand that storyline from the standpoint of his contract and who's left on the Red Sox and all those things. At the same time, like, I do not want him to ever change. I want him to be like, he is everything that he has. It's like 95% as good as what Soto is in the box from the standpoint of entertainment in between pitches. How he's reacting to things is just delightful. So I loved it. I love Rafi so much. So great pick. He was on our board for sure.
You bring up the chewing tobacco, the fat lip, and I've said this before, but I don't dip, but Rafi Devers is the one guy who makes me want to. And I think that's accentuated by his baby face. Like, he has these fat cheeks.
Yeah.
Right? Like these big little pinchable pillows up there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then he's got a third cheek down by his lip where the
Like
jaw
a
resides.
mini me cheek.
Yeah, it looks like a cheek. Like, if you see pictures of him, it looks like he has 3 cheeks and one is under his mouth. He has so much. I think it's like he has this bizarre dip gum concoction.
Yes.
That he
Yeah,
puts in
Like
his
does.
mouth.
Tito.
That's so
He
disgusting.
must have, he must have got some tip from Tito at some point.
It is
I know they
yeah.
didn't overlap, but still,
They
like,
definitely have each
it's-
other's phone numbers.
It
yeah.
must taste absolutely like, but it's good to know that our heroes have flaws.
That's true. That's true.
It's
No
kind of
one
impressive that he's able to actually play a baseball game while
Correct.
concentrating on that, right? Like,
Yes.
it's a whole other thing that needs its own focus, I think.
You're right. So I wrote this whole thing like a month ago about Zinn and how all these ball players are switching to Zinn from dip because they don't want to have like mouth cancer. And some of the people I talked to were like, I don't understand how guys ever play with dip in. Like, I just dip in the dugout or I dip like in the clubhouse or whatever. And Rafi Devers is like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Maybe it's like his timing mechanism, like that's the thing that he has to.
Now, to your point though, the fact that he dips as often as he does probably gets him less screen time than he normally would, because
Yeah.
I know that broadcasts don't necessarily want to be zooming in on the third cheek as often as some other players who are smiling with their pearly whites.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's one of my favorite players, so I love the pick.
Glorify it, baby. It's okay.
Also, the nice thing about Rafi is that he also, like you said, Jordan, he's like a goofy guy who likes to hang out with his teammates. So I feel like by picking Rafi, we also get a little bit of Kike Hernandez, We also get a little.
Well, hold on. We're not just getting the whole team now, but that's true. That's
We
true.
don't actually
I will
get
say,
the whole team, but any Kike
you're right.
GIF is a
It-
Rafi GIF too. Like they're
No,
going to be near
it's-
each other. They're
no,
playing.
that's-
They're playing
If
on
you
the
wanna
same
take
side of the
Kike,
infield.
You have how many other picks in this draft? Go ahead and take Kike. I mean, come on.
I mean,
Like,
maybe we
that's-
will. You're not going to
Okay.
be
Maybe
here.
you will.
So
Maybe you will, but this is just such a. You were so close to a good gift draft experience with us, and then at the very end, you were like, "Oh, I get this guy. I get his whole team too." All right, so Jordan, we got the Padres and the Guardians.
Except
My
Juan.
God.
Well, you already have Juan Soto because Lang selected for the guest team. So
Yeah,
you're-
get outta
that's
here.
You already do have Juan Soto.
That's
No,
rough.
I
what
can't
I'm saying
believe
is,
we've let them take this over again. Second year in a row.
no,
and
I'm
we're
not
already
letting this
being-
happen. What I'm saying is, we talked about it early in the show before you guys were on. That part of what makes a good GIF is being a good teammate too. So spending time with your teammates, playing pranks, having viral moments with them. If your guy is in that GIF, then it counts as your GIF too.
I just don't
So-
think it's like a Red Sox plus. That's my point. Like, I don't think the Red Sox are more likely to have hijinks than the Guardians.
Well, I don't think
Are
the
you
Red
kidding me?
Sox are, but I do think Kike is, who is now sharing that side of the infield with him. God damn
By
it.
the way-
Let me get my point off.
Oh, it's
Jeez.
Bobby, you can't just be calling him that in front of 2 members of the Jewish community. Please, it's Enrique.
By Bobby, we have to go record our own podcast that you don't produce, sadly. So,
That's right. I also have to go move my car. So,
well, this was fun. Bobby, we love you. Alex, we love you. Thank you so much for having us again on the GIF draft. I feel confident in our selections once again.
Yeah.
And I look forward to coming back and dominating it again in 2024.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Fly ball to deep left center field. Devers has hit it out. The rookie takes Chapman the other way to tie the game.
Okay, we are very pleased to be joined once again by Matthew Ritchie, our fellow New Yorker now, who is starting up a diversity content fellowship at MLB, which is super exciting. Dude, welcome to New York City. You're not in the studio with us here, but you are in a semi-dark hotel room, presumably in Manhattan, that MLB has you posted up in until your lease starts. What's up, man? It's great to see you.
It is great. Yeah, no, I'm working off of lighting, so I had to try. I couldn't have any backlighting because all the lights are behind me. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, we're total Aaron Rodgers dark chamber.
Yeah, Bane mode.
And then just getting into it. This is how I get into the mode for GIF picks.
It's great to see you, dude. We're happy to have you back on the show. Listeners will remember that you came on, I don't know, 8 months ago now to talk about your thesis. Yes. Are you happy to be out of the darkness of the thesis era?
There is nothing better than the post-thesis bender. That there was a week in Chicago that I don't remember ever stopping moving or stopping being in different bars / areas of the city. So I'm just trying to recreate that feeling for sure.
Right. The rest of life is just trying to chase that high again, right?
Well, this is the next best thing, Matthew. This is the next best thing. Drafting the Tipping Pitches 2023 All-GIF draft. So you're coming right after our mutual friends, Jake and Jordan from Cespedes Family Barbecue. They did wonderful selecting Fernando Tatis Jr. and Josh Naylor. So we turn it over to you to make the lucky number 13 selection in the 2023 All-GIF draft. Who's it going to be?
My selection for the All-GIF draft of 2023 with the 13th pick is Miami Marlins superstar Jazz Chisholm Jr.
Jazz.
Let's go.
All right, speak on it. What's the deal with Jazz?
I feel like Jazz is kind of forgotten when you sort of think about it, because we didn't see Jazz for a lot of last year. But whenever we did see him, you got to remember he's literally might be the coolest baseball player on the field. And I think there's also a fantastic opportunity for GIF usage this year because we're getting the throwback Marlins jerseys. We're getting the teal, which is just better. I think it's just as good as their Red City Connect jerseys, but the Jazz looking like he should have been on the old World Series team in the teal, sliding around the field. Him roaming center is another great opportunity. When he robs,
it's going to be an adventure.
When he robs his first home run, and you get that GIF of him celebrating after he robs that first home run, that's the payoff.
Great call.
I'm betting on a quasi Gold Glove season for Jazz out there. That's my hot take.
Wow, hell yeah!
I think that's my hot take. I think Jazz might be in the top 5% of outs above average up there. I'll say it in center field.
Top
Scorching
5%
hot take.
outs above average. So you think his transition to center is going to go much better than your friend Jake and Jordan's pick of Fernando Tatis Jr.?
I just feel like Tatis gets a bad rep because he's not great defensively.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
That's mostly because he can't field ground balls or throw accurately at first base, which is important for shortstop.
Half the battle, which is half the battle.
Exactly.
I think he'll be fine in right. I think he'll be either just as good as Juan Soto is in right field, honestly. Yeah, which is not necessarily a compliment or a derogatory term, but no, I honestly think Jazz has enough natural ability just to be an athlete on the field. because I've seen people, like my buddy James Ingram. He was a catcher. He was traditionally a catcher, and then they put him in center field for like the last 2 years of his career at Johns Hopkins, and was just a natural out there. So it's when some guys just have it, I feel like, and going from second base to center field isn't it. I mean, yeah, you got to track fly balls and everything, but I feel like Jazz just has that natural ability to translate a lot quicker than other people would.
He does have a sort of intuitive style athleticism to his game, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it almost seems like there's maybe a bit of Cespedes in him, where he might make really good plays that might be opportunities because he didn't make the easier play, right? Like a diving catch because he took a bad route to a fly ball, and then we're like, wow, look at that. And it works because he's putting himself in those situations, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, like, you also have a lineage of infielders becoming outfielders. Like everyone's like the best right fielder in baseball is just raring to play second base at every time, because Mookie Betts, he's like, I love second base, but I'm also one of the best right fielders in the game. And then you've got a lesser known one, Adam Jones, was a shortstop in the Mariners org, and then they were like center field, and then became a very talented, very underrated center fielder for a while. So
That's right. Got to get that Orioles chat in here.
Listen, unbiased. I
gotta keep that brand strong, baby.
Well, I gotta pump up Baltimore while I still can. Well, I'm still contractually unobligated to. But yeah, I think that's all to say. Jazz will be fine out there. Honestly,
I agree. I love pointing out the jerseys, because reminding us that the Marlins will be employing those throwback jerseys this year makes me think about how great it would have been to see Jazz and Dontrelle Willis on the same team. Can you just imagine if we had a time machine and put those guys on the same team? That would have just been an absolute blast. All of those Marlins players from that kind of 2000 to 2005 era, I feel like Jazz would have fit in more seamlessly with that kind of Marlins team than with the like clean cut Derek Jeter style Miami Marlins. Yeah. But I mean, I know Jeter's not there anymore, and maybe that is a point in Jazz's favor for getting to continue to express himself on the field the way that he loves to and loves to be vocal about. And of course, his star is on the rise. I mean, he's on the cover of MLB The Show. He clearly is a player that the league is invested in as a whole too. So that's a point in your favor in terms of the gift draft also, is like, the people that they want to be stars, they will circulate media about them, and those media are sometimes gifts.
He's just so GIF-able. Mm-hmm. He I know you can say that about any of the top guys, but Jazz loves the camera, and the camera loves Jazz. And even when he's playing, even in like the natural actions on the field, is always an opportunity for him to pull out 5 to 10 seconds of good content. And I feel good. I feel very good. I feel very good about that pick.
He has a very expressive face. You know, he wears his emotions. He doesn't try to hide them on his face very much. Alex, I forgot to ask, when we were talking about Jazz's natural athletic, intuitive ability and being able to switch to the outfield, and we're talking about being able to track fly balls, where were you at? How was your outfield game? You know, you were a second baseman. Do you think you could have seamlessly switched to center field?
You know, I kind of could have. I had the arm when the like torn ligaments or whatever it is that I have in there weren't flaring up. You know,
I was horrible.
I think
if
they'd given me a shot,
just could not track a fly ball to save my life. This was not my game.
I still have this theory. You could put 7 to 8 shortstops out on the field and just play, just as long as they're good enough, you can really just put them anywhere and they'll figure it out. And the
one position that you can't put them at is catcher, right?
Right. Have I ever told you guys about like my first like couple months at Hopkins?
No.
It was like the fall, and you know, I'm having a fall, and they're like, when the assistant coach comes up to me, I was like, hey, so we want to see what you look like at catcher. See if we can like see if there's like an avenue to get you into the get you into the like potentially get you in the lineup earlier than because they're like upperclassmen. And so I spend like 45 minutes doing like a catching session on the field, and then I catch like 3 bullpens, and then like I'm doing throwdowns, blocks, and then it was never brought up again. we did it. It was one day, and then that was it. And it was never brought up. The coaching staff was never like, "All right, well, we'll think about it. We'll talk about it." I just walked up the field and then never put on the catcher's gear ever again.
They weren't even like, "Let's get in the film room." They were just like, "We saw everything we need to see."
They were like, "That's fine. Like, you know what? Whatever. We'll nip this in the bud so quickly."
Your primary position was third,
or second.
First? Oh, second.
Second.
Nice.
Second. I started my career at third, sophomore year, but then was second. Those fake junior and senior years that were COVID truncated.
Right. Yeah. See, it doesn't matter what position it says next to your name in the lineup when you got 438 OBP though. That's right. Career OBP.
I gotta take that. I gotta take that out the Twitter bio. Too many people reference it now. It's now it did its job.
It's old news. Yeah. It's associated with you now. Now you just take it out. People already know.
It's crazy because I put it in there because I was like writing about baseball non-professionally. And so I was like, oh, I need you guys to understand when I talk about baseball, I know
game recognized game.
Right.
So if you click on it, like if you click on my profile, be like, oh, what's this guy fucking blabbering on about? And then you see 438 career OBP, you know I'm not fucking around. I know.
That's right.
I know what I'm talking about. The plate discipline speaks for itself. It's not like I'm just blowing gas out here.
You think the game. You understand the counts, the situations. Come on.
I just the smartest player inside the lines. Everyone knows. Everyone knows it.
Okay. Jazz Chisholm, 13th overall selection. Alex, who are we doing? What are we doing? We got 14th pick. Who's it going to be?
I think we know who it's going to be.
He's already mentioned.
He was already mentioned
by Matthew Ritchie.
That's the one and only Mookie Betts.
That's right.
It's a great pick.
I fucking love that Mookie takes infield still. That's so funny that he has like, there's like a clubby that has to have his infield glove ready for him to take ground balls is so funny to me. Anyway.
Easy pick in this draft. He's gone before. And while we are reticent to pick repeat players in repeat years, just for a little diversity's sake, it's impossible to let this go by without at least mentioning Mookie Betts. I mean, the man is a one-man show, right? In like one of baseball's biggest markets, right? Where all eyes are trained on him. And he's so flashy. He's having so much fun out there. He's a multi-sport athlete as well. You might see GIFs of him, on the bases or on the lanes, and you never really know, right? Again, you said he's he takes the reps at second just because he likes to have fun. When they trade for Tim Anderson at the trade deadline, that's going to make it even more fun when he's got that squad with him. So yeah, it's
just breaking news in the pod. It's 4 months ahead of time. I like that.
That's a neat little prediction that you snuck in there. I kind of like it.
It's cool,
Everybody's predicting Ohtani to the Dodgers. No, you guys aren't thinking hard enough. It's going to be
Tim
TA
Anderson
to
was
the
talking
Dodgers.
about how much fun he was having with him on the WBC team and how he was learning a lot from him. I don't know, man. I think there's something going on.
I think Mookie was also just angling for every black player to come to the Dodgers. I heard he was like, yeah, it's like Cedric Mullins is like one of. I was like, whoa, all right, let's slow your roll here, Marcus.
Mookie, I love you, but you're hurting me. Come on.
I was like that. That's not allowed. I would love to see it though.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. But I was like, hey, I see what you're doing. I know what you're doing.
Yeah, he's a recruiter. He's going to be there for a long time, so he might as well recruit as many people that he likes to hang out with. Mookie is awesome. I love that Mookie, sometimes it seems like he can't even control his emotions. Like after he makes a big play, like he surprises himself. So I think of a lot of the highlight catches that he's made in the outfield, particularly like in the 2020 playoff run where the spotlight was so hot on them in the World Series, diving catches, sliding catches, unbelievable throws. Like that back right field camera angle of him throwing people out at third base is iconic. And it's weird to say, it's like kind of nerdy and cheesy to say that like making the right throw to the right bag is a highlight, but he is like, to me, the epitome of a fundamental player who also plays with swagger and flash. And he's just like is unbelievably solid and fun and cool. And it's hard to like keep that persona for as long as he has. And if anything, he's just getting cooler. Like he can be on the cover of GQ if he wants to. He can literally do whatever he wants to. And like you said, Alex, in the biggest market, or one of the biggest markets, and he's also pretty good at baseball. He like was almost MVP last year.
And had a down year, right? Like,
who won MVP last year in the NL?
Goldie.
Oh God, see what I'm talking about quietly. That's someone who will never be taken in the gift draft. Is Paul Goldschmidt the exact?
Telling me Goldie doesn't move the gift needle?
He is maybe the most boring, really good player in baseball. And I think that he takes pride in that. But Mookie is the exact opposite side of that coin. So Mookie Betts, happy to have him. Him.
That's a great pick.
Matthew Ritchie, we are happy to have you here with us on this gift draft. Do you want to let people know where they can find what you're going to be doing?
What am I going to be doing? I don't know. Just follow me on Twitter while it still exists.
That's right.
At MKRWRT. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. I'm really not doing anything anymore. Like I'm not doing anything cool. I mean, I'm doing things that are cool, but I'm not doing like cool things that aren't baseball.
Right. I mean, we should tell you that Rob Manfred does loyally listen to this podcast, so I wouldn't say anything that you don't want your potential employer,
boss.
Right, exactly.
The head honcho. No. Everything's great. Everything's perfect. No, but if you like Mets and Yankees coverage, sometimes I will be the person providing that for MLB. So if you sometimes want to know what's going on with the Yankees once every couple of weeks, follow me there. If you sometimes want to know what's going on with the Mets, I'll be your eyes and ears. Sometimes.
If you want to hear overwhelming praise of Cedric Mullins all season long, he's also your guy. So
I feel I gotta check and see if I'm still allowed to do that, because I would for the past.
You might have to get a little burner action going.
Oh gosh, imagine that's so much effort. I would need another two-factor identification for this stupid fucking platform. And I was like, I just can't.
And it can't be text message now. It has to be a authenticator app because of Twitter Blue.
Yeah, honestly, the authenticator apps are pretty fire. I'm kind of addicted to them.
I like that. love an authenticator.
You're like
app.
just creating accounts just so you can set up two-factor and
I put an authenticator on my Club Penguin account from 11 years ago. I was like, I just need it. I need to make sure it's locked down, even if the servers aren't.
First Club Penguin reference on the pod. I love it.
There's no way that was the first Club Penguin reference on the pod.
We don't really dabble in that. I would say here.
I mean, I was in the Club Penguin. I was on the Club Penguin servers. I was running around. I was having insults hurled at me like everybody on Club Penguin.
You were in these streets.
I was in these snow covered streets of Club Penguin. What a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. This was great.
Thank you again. As always, happy to be on. Appreciate you guys.
There's a shot pass first. Way down the line. That'll bring in another run. Troy is in to score. Garcia digging for third. Here's the long throw and the tag, and he is out at third. Mookie Betts guns him down. A long distance.
All right, we got the closer with us. Shakeia Taylor. She's back. All-GIF draft. So excited to do this. What's up, Shake? How are you?
What's up? How are you? I'm so excited to be back. This is kind of the beginning of baseball season for me now every year, so I'm hyped.
The honorary third mic of this podcast, as awarded by both our listeners and Alex's mom. So we're happy to have you.
Alex's mom's the MVP, by the way.
That's true. She's like the executive producer and you're the honorary
the shadow producer. Exactly.
We've had many picks in this gift draft. I think this is the biggest and best one yet. You are pick number 15, and then we will close out after you with pick number 16. So we turn it over to you. Who's it going to be this year? Who are you going to
With
give
the
the
number
honor?
15 pick in the tipping pitches all-GIF draft, I am choosing Emmanuel Clase.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
A closer for the closer. I think he's great. Obviously, I am super biased. Let's get that out of the way first. Go Guards. But I really liked what I saw from him last season, especially with their run in the playoffs. They obviously went way further than anyone expected. He's got an ERA of what, like 1.3 something, like just thick. So I'm super excited for what I'm hoping he brings this season, what I'm hoping the Guards bring this season. And I'm pitcher biased completely, like big fan. And normally I would choose a starter, but I really, really liked Emmanuel Clase so much that I decided to go a different direction this year.
First reliever selected. We have a lot of starters
selected,
taken, so you check that box too. Clase is unbelievable player. He's like one of those players that if you put him in a time machine back to 1950, they would have just like banned the sport of baseball because they're like, this guy's a witch. Like, he's throwing 101 mile an hour cutters that move like 7 inches. Just like, how is this guy doing any of this? Yeah. And so for the purposes of the GIF draft, I mean, you're going to get a lot of GIFs of his, like the pitching ninja style GIFs of like, how did this pitch do what this did? But then you're also just going to get the flat out batter looking embarrassed while trying to make contact with this pitch GIF, which is an underrated one too. I mean, Alex, we've picked some relievers over the years, but Clase has never been one of them. I feel like Devin Williams was the one that we came back to a lot. But I think it's a great pick.
Almost picked Devin Williams, actually. But I decided to go with the hometown bias. So one time I get to be a homer.
Yeah, well, and Guards games are going to be big for the guest team in Tristan McKenzie starts. I mean, that's, you guys got the 1-2 punch right there with McKenzie, and assuming he's not, didn't really see an update on his injury, but assuming he's not out, I mean, him and Clase are
3 Guards players. Josh Naylor taken as well.
Naylor as well. Yeah. Wow. This is lots of Guards representation.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that because, you know, I've had to listen to people make fun of my team, well, my whole life. So even when they win, people make fun of them. So this is nice that people are like picking, aside from me, picking Guardians players. I think we have finally gotten used to that name, right? We have been seamlessly calling them the Guardians.
Yeah. It actually wasn't until just now that I was kind of like, oh, that felt really natural. Like I didn't have to pause and like think about it. Yeah.
The Guard,
that was my
expectations high for the Guards this year. Like I think that a lot of people feel like this is a sneaky team on the rise, as evidenced by both just people picking them to win this division, but also here in the GIF draft. 3 players for one team is nothing to be trifled with. I wonder, we don't have really stats on the GIF draft, like a history on the GIF draft, but we could probably go back and assemble.
Is that predictive at all?
Is that the maybe? What if it is? What if this is like the most predictive preseason?
Right. Can we get like expected GIFs in here? You know, I know we have some fans
GIFs above replacement.
Exactly.
That's
I love
actually
the pick.
kind of perfect.
Yeah. I love Clase. He is he's just a really cool player to watch too. Like, he is a very powerful pitcher to watch on the mound. Like, he has a command of his appearances, and also, you know, the way that the Guardians have used him too is that he usually is the closer, but if they need him in a high leverage moment, there's going to be a lot of him squaring off against the best hitters in baseball. So Emmanuel Clase, great pick as always, Shakeia.
Thank you.
That leaves us to make the Mr. Irrelevant selection in the 2023 All-GIF draft, which I think is a very funny thing that we're about to do, which is choose the greatest baseball player maybe who has ever lived as Mr. Irrelevant in the GIF draft. His name is Shohei Ohtani. Alex, Shohei Ohtani. Have you heard much about this guy?
Familiar. He was just playing a few weeks ago, I think.
Oh, really? Was that in spring training or
something like that? Yes, I think it was overseas. I don't know. I didn't really. No, he's Shohei Ohtani. I mean, I almost feel bad for letting him fall this far, which I know that was in part because we just wanted to get a new mix of names in there. But we can't not pick him. We can't let the draft finish without picking him. It's just not possible. I mean, he is the platonic ideal of GIFs in my head, I think, because he's so endearing in the dugout around his teammates. He's clearly having so much fun out there. Like, put aside the baseball stuff, which he
huge caveat. Put aside the baseball
huge
stuff,
caveat.
Where he's one of the best pitchers and hitters of the century.
Just best athletes on the planet right now. Yeah, and does double duty there, right? Like at the plate and on the mound. But just his overall presence, I think, is so, I don't know. It's like infective almost, like, yeah, I'm at a loss for words, honestly. I want to throw back to you, Bobby.
I think that it's a testament to how like almost monocultural in the baseball world he has become that he even fell this far. I think a year ago he was like within the first 5 picks or so. And I think we were even choosing him a couple years ago as well. But now he is like, everybody knows about him. And so no one thinks it's cool to select him. But also at the same time, he is kind of undeniable as the superstar of the baseball world. A couple weeks ago on the pod, we did this 30 most famous people in the baseball world, the 30 biggest celebrities in the baseball world, the A-listers. And we put him at number 1, and we did not feel any type of way about that. More famous than A-Rod, more famous than Jeter, more famous than Poppy, because he is this international, global sensation. And that was super duper on display in the World Baseball Classic, where during the games that were played in prime time for Japan and the rest of Asia, I mean, there was like tens of millions of people watching these baseball games, like way more people watching these games than the World Series, Game 7, obviously the Angels games. So he's huge. He is just an unbelievable star. I hope that we get to know him even better over the coming years, because I feel like we know him, the player. We get these trickle of anecdotes about him, about he's this funny, silly guy. And I just feel like there's this weird vacuum situation going on in Anaheim that kind of sucks some of the shine out of what he's doing. And whether that means the Angels actually make the postseason this year, or whether that means he moves on and goes to a different team and then reacclimates himself to a new fan base in a new city, I'm looking forward to his star growing even brighter, which is kind of hard to imagine with what he's accomplished this far.
I actually think with Shohei, he's kind of a given at this point, right? Like, I watched my Twitter timeline when the World Baseball Classic was going on, and there were people who I have never seen talking about baseball, talking about it. People were tuned in, and it's like, I feel like Shohei has the appeal that people wanted Mike Trout to have. No disrespect to Mike Trout, but like, Mike Trout is kind of unto himself, if you will. Like, people admire him. They think he's great, but Shohei's got that that youthful enthusiasm. He's got that appeal to different people around the world. I think it's just kind of become a given. People don't choose him because they just assume, right? Like, he is there. He is already picked.
I think a lot of people thought that he would be taken already, and so came in with a spiel prepared about a different player, and so chose someone else. But, Stephen Hesson, who made the first overall pick, and he chose Max Scherzer because of the shenanigans that he will no doubtedly pull with the pitch clock this year and the pitch comm. He even said, I would have chosen Ohtani, except I chose him last year. So this guy is ubiquitous. The thing about Ohtani that I really love observing, participating in, and watching grow is like just the fervor of the fandom. Like, he is like a boy band, like people lose their shit when they see this guy. He's like Beatlemania, except for baseball. And I feel that, and I don't even know how to verbalize it. When I see him, just this smile creeps across my face. And 10 seconds later, I realize I'm watching him play, and I have this gigantic smile on my face. When he was doing his post-game interviews for Fox for the World Baseball Classic, I mean, like, the questions were dumb, and it was like a kind of clunky TV broadcast, but I'm still sitting there like a kid who's watching, a movie for the first time. Like, it's unbelievable what he is doing. Everybody is just so smitten with him right now. And, he's going to continue to produce on the field too. So I think he's a fitting selection And it would have been a mistake to let him go completely undrafted. I think we probably would have heard about that, Alex, from the listeners in the Tipping Pitches community.
Absolutely. Well, I also appreciate about the Fox broadcast that they had what was effectively an Ohtani cam on him the whole time, especially in the championship, obviously, right? It was like, oh, he's walking to the other end of the dugout right now. Is he going to go to the bull? Which again, I think just heightens those opportunities, right? You're going to see him do something, even if it's like throwing sunflower seeds at his teammate or picking his nose. I don't know. Like, we're going to get it all, the good, bad, and the ugly.
One thing about Ohtani, I feel like we are past the point of national broadcast needing to be like, this guy's amazing. We know, okay, we get it. We can elevate that conversation a little bit. We can move past this initial layer. I feel like we talked about it a little bit last year, but national baseball broadcasts are becoming so self-conscious about the idea that no one likes baseball. And so I feel like constantly when you're watching a national broadcast, they're just telling you, here's what's actually cool about baseball. And it's like, oh, you might think that baseball is boring, but Shohei Ohtani's not boring. And it's like, we need to stop having this weird meta, you need to like this guy conversation with him. And we just need to just appreciate him while we still can without telling each other how much we need to be appreciating him.
I think what they're not doing is talking about the game. Yeah. I think you can appreciate Shohei by talking about the game, right?
Yeah. Randy Wilkins was pointing that out on Twitter during the World Baseball Classic final. He said something very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, weave in your stories by all means. That's what we watch for. But talk about the game and get away from the weird superhuman unicorn, superhero. He's a mutant. All that language is very weird. Just talk about the game in a very normal way, and people will respond to that because folks want to learn about him in a way that isn't so weird. I said weird a lot there, but I mean it. It's all very weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, after the game,
he's actually just a
him,
dude.
After the game, they were like, so Shohei, what planet are you from? And it's like, how is he supposed to answer that? I don't, it's weird. It's awkward.
Yeah.
And American terms of speech don't always translate well to everyone.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's like, you can say, what planet are you from? And someone take that literally. And then you've got a whole nother conversation happening. Yeah. Just don't do it. Just be normal. I like that he's exciting and I like that they're excited, but you don't have to do the extra. I don't think it needs any more sauce. Shohei is the sauce.
He speaks for himself. Exactly. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It feels a lot like when you're at a bar and they're trying to elevate the cheeseburger. They're like, here, we're going to scrape some raclette onto your cheeseburger. I'm like, no, cheeseburgers are pretty perfect food as it is. You don't need to try to do all this crazy ass shit to make me like a cheeseburger. I'm probably just going to like it if it's just the beef and the cheese, That's Ohtani to me. I mean, of course, on the field, he's going to do things that almost no one else can do too. So inside the lines, outside the lines, as a star, I feel great about him.
Yeah, 100%. Shakeia, you had an honorable mention. Do you want to drop that in here right now before we wrap up this gift draft?
Now that I am on the spot, I will. My honorable mention was Randy. Randy Arozarena. I think his enthusiasm. I'm all about enthusiasm in 2023. His enthusiasm is infectious. Watching him play is just baseball joy. You can tell he's having a good time. He's loose. People get behind him. The boots are hilarious.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's not on a team that I would necessarily want to clock in for day in and day out as far as watching goes, but I think he's worth it. I think he's so much fun. And I had a tough time choosing between him and Emmanuel Clase, but I thought Arozarena would have been chosen already, which is hysterical to me.
Yeah, well, he's definitely a guy who appreciates a good bit, on or off the field, right? He'll get into character. You mentioned the cowboy boots and he does the whole get up. And you're going to see those photos on opening day or whenever he rocks it. But again, he's electric in the field too, right? He's got that sort of Griffey-esque, going to go all out for the play, no matter what it is. And that's, I still remember watching the World Series with him a couple of years ago, right? And the stolen and him stealing home, right? I was I didn't even know that was allowed and like I didn't know you could do that anymore. Yeah, he's a firecracker.
He has this crazy like sense for the moment. He has a composure when a huge thing happens that I just don't understand because I don't have that kind of composure. If I made that catch at the wall in the World Baseball Classic semifinal, I would not have the composure to stare at the camera, to know where that is, or like cross my arms and stare at the camera. Like I would just be like losing my shit, and that would be funny in its own right. But it's like Randy is he's like a theater actor. Like he knows where everything is and what's happening.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
super cool.
It was giving Derrick Rose. Remember? Derrick Rose hits the buzzer beater. I was at that game, and he just has this straight face while his team is excited around him. I love stuff like that. That's just cool. Like, I knew I could do it.
Dame Lillard, when he got tackled by the Trailblazers, the gif of him, you're just like, yeah, that is true. I mean, it's just, I wonder if he practices stuff like that, I'd love to talk to Randy and be like, did you think ahead of time that you were just going to cross your arms and kind of just mean mug towards the camera?
In the mirror.
I know. That would be far cooler, trying different, which side's my better side? Right shoulder, left shoulder,
Yeah, that would be a good This Is Sports Center commercial. Remember those Sports Center commercials that they used to do? Is Randy Arozarena practicing how to stare at the camera after making a home run saving catch? We're giving away free ideas, man.
I know. Book it. Let's do it.
Shakeia Taylor, it is always our distinct pleasure to talk to you on this podcast for the gift draft or otherwise. You're doing wonderful things at the Chicago Tribune. Is there anything specifically that you want to highlight or talk about, anything that you're working on that people can find?
Yeah, actually, I recently published a story on the making of Storylines, the feature in MLB The Show 23 with the Negro Leagues history. That was such a cool story to write. It was something cool to unravel. I think Tipping Pitches listeners would enjoy it, particularly for the historical aspect, but also just the cool factor of something that has sort of been hidden or lost to younger generations being put out in such a cool way. That is probably my most recent super fun story that anyone related to baseball would enjoy.
Amazing specific plug. That's how it's done right there, ladies and gentlemen. You plug the specific story that you just wrote that you think the audience is going to want to go read, because people are definitely going to go read that. It's a great story. Shakeia, thank you. This was so much fun.
Thanks for having me. You guys are my faves.
So here we go. Clase's ready. His 1-2 pitch to Jay Cronenworth. Got him! Clase strikes out the side in the 9th inning. And the American League wins the All-Star game for the 9th consecutive season.
A massive, 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 massive thank you to Stephen Hesson, Bekah Ansbro, Jane Ost, Clinton Yates, Sarah Langs, Jake Mintz, and Jordan Schusterman. Smaller thank you for them, though, because they're so rude to us whenever they come on. It's unbelievable. They're trying to big time us on our own fucking podcast. Like, these guys.
They're not getting invited back next year.
They've gotten too big.
I've been waiting to talk with you about this, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you go to SiriusXM and you get this podcast and you do so many pods and everybody loves them. Oh, your heads just got too big, Jake and Jordan. You just can't. We can't have it. Matthew Ritchie and Shakeia Taylor. This was a fun one. This was a fun. It was a bear. It was a bear to schedule and to pull off. I guess 8 rounds of the gift draft, which is as big or bigger than ever. Next year, should we just do like the full 27 rounds? We're just drafting like
full 40-man rosters.
All right. Next up, I don't know, Luis Guillorme. Sounds good. He caught that bat that one time.
I liked Jane's suggestion of maybe turning it into a keeper league or something like that. Like I'd like to talk dynasty value for a guy like Scherzer, who I'll take in a redraft, right? But maybe the long-term value, I'm less certain on.
Coming to the end of the road there. He's been around the block a few times.
Exactly. I'm going to keep going until like a fantasy site has picked this up and created an actual draft mechanism. At that point, I think we can retire.
Frankly, the intellectual property is ours, though. So better be getting dividends.
Gifts,
on that. Just saying. Just Just saying. Thank you to all those people. Thank you to everybody for listening. I'm excited. Against my better judgment, the 2023 baseball season. It's gonna be weird, probably.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. It's always weird. That's why we're here, right? If baseball was normal, I think we'd be out of a job.
Would you describe this as in a job? Well,
after putting together things like the All-GIF draft, yes. Yes, I would.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks again to everybody for listening. We'll be back next week when we will be talking about Major League Baseball games that are happening.
I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping pitches.
Tipping pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!